They say Route 666 doesn't appear on any GPS anymore. But if you ever find yourself low on gas near Chillicothe after midnight, and you spot a flickering neon sign that says Full Service Garage 24/7, keep driving. If you pull in, you better pray you follow the rules. Because I did once, and I still hear the screaming in the oil pit that I wasn't looking for trouble. I just needed a damn job. 3 months behind on rent, my phone bill unpaid, and a car that coughed like a dying dog every time I turned the ignition. Things were bleak. So when I found the job posting scribbled on a torn flyer pinned to a corkboard inside a gas station near Lancaster, Ohio, I figured, what the hell? Night attendant needed. Remote auto garage. Cash. No questions asked. Must be available from dusk till dawn. Leave number. There was no business name. No location. Just a phone number and a time to call. Exactly 3:33 p.m. Odd. Yes. But not the weirdest thing I'd seen in Ohio. I called. A voice answered. Male. Dry and monotone like gravel in a blender. You're hired, it said. Be there by sundown. Route 666. Chillicothe exit. The road will find you. Then, the line went dead. At first, I thought it was a prank. But something in the voice, and how my phone screen stayed black the entire time during the call, it got under my skin. I should have ignored it. But desperation has a way of dulling your instincts. So that evening, I headed out. The sun was bleeding across the horizon as I left the highway. That's when I saw it. A cracked green road sign barely hanging by one chain. Route 666. No outlet. There was no listing for it on GPS. My phone screen glitched. Static buzzed through the radio, even though it wasn't turned on. Still, I drove forward. Dust curled behind me. Trees leaned like they were eavesdropping. The asphalt turned into cracked concrete, then into dirt, and then I saw it. The garage.it. Looked like a relic from the 1950s. 2 rusted service bays, a faded sign that flickered full service 24/7, and an old gas pump straight out of a black and white horror movie. A large man stepped out the front door, holding a clipboard and chewing a toothpick. His name tag read, Buck, you must be the new guy, he grunted, not offering a handshake. Rules are inside. Inside the office, under a single buzzing light bulb, sat a dusty binder labeled, Rules for the Night Attendant. Read before clocking in. I opened it. The pages were yellowed, water-stained, and smelled like smoke. Candle the rules. Candle lock the garage bay doors exactly at 11:59 p.m. Not a minute before. Not a second after. If a customer arrives between midnight and 3 a.m., don't look them in the eyes. Serve them politely. Never ask where they came from. You'll hear knocking from the oil pit under bay number 2 around 2:33 a.m. Do not open the pit, no matter how much it begs. If the phone rings between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m., do not answer. Let it ring. If it keeps ringing after the 4th ring, leave the building. Fast. Sometimes you'll see headlights in the rear lot. There is no rear lot. Do not go out there. By dawn, clean all tools and leave them in their exact spots. If even one wrench is missing, you'll have visitors tomorrow night. Never fall asleep. If you do, you might wake up in the pit. And no, one comes out of the pit. Got it? Buck asked. I chuckled awkwardly, trying to mask my nerves. You're joking, right? He didn't smile. Clock in. Sunset's gone. Then he was gone. Just walked into the tree line behind the garage. Vanished like fog. 11:45 p.m. I was behind the front counter, staring at the security monitor. For grainy black and white cameras. Nothing moved. Not even the wind. Then came a soft clang from bay #2. It sounded like metal tapping from underneath. The garage from the oil pit. I remembered rule number 3 and locked the bay doors. 11:59 on the dot. Then the phone rang. Ring. I froze. Ring. The clock read 12:07 a.m. My fingers twitched. On the 4th ring, it stopped. My heart was hammering. Then came headlights. Blinding and slow, gliding up to the pump out front. The vehicle was wrong. It looked like a 1930s Packard. Chrome bumper. Long body. Its surface was wet, like it had driven up from a lake bed. The windows were completely black. I stepped out. Clipboard in hand, trying to look normal. The driver's window rolled down. Just a crack. Fill her up, a voice rasped. It smelled like salt and rot. Like something pulled from the bottom of the sea. I didn't ask where they were coming from. Didn't look inside. I pumped the gas, my eyes on the pump dial the entire time. The fuel was black, thicker than oil. I could hear it hissing in the tank. When I handed back the receipt, a hand reached out. It had too many fingers. The bill was soaked in something sticky. I didn't ask. They drove away. The car disappeared into the dark. 2:33 a.m. Bang. 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 From beneath bay #2. This time, there was a voice. Let me out. It whispered. Help, please. It sounded like a child. Then another voice, my voice, echoed up. Don't leave me down here. It's cold, so cold. I turned off the radio. I backed away. I pressed my back to the door and whispered over and over, it's not real. It's not real. Then I heard the scraping of nails on the underside of the metal grate and laughing, gurgling laughter, like a child gargling blood. 3:11 a.m. The security monitor flickered. Camera 4, which showed the non-existent rear lot, lit up. There were figures standing there. Dozens. Motionless. Pale. Naked. Faces covered in oil. And all of them were looking up at the camera. Then the door behind me rattled. I turned. It was locked. Deadbolt. Then the phone rang again. Bring. I grabbed my coat and bolted out the front. I didn't look back. The road was gone. Only trees. No car. No buck. No stars. I sat on the ground and waited. Sunrise. The garage was gone. Behind me was an empty lot. My car sat rusted in the dirt. The gas pump was shattered. No building. No bay doors. Just tire marks leading into the woods. I in my pocket. The rules binder. Still intact. On the last page, a new rule was scrawled in red ink. 8. You can leave, but you'll be back. You're ours now. I didn't go back on my own. They brought me back. It had been 3 days since my first shift at the garage on Route 666, and every second since, I had tried to convince myself that it had all been a dream, a sick hallucination caused by sleep, deprivation, or a breakdown. But then the black oil started leaking from my ears. I woke up on my couch with a splitting headache, a metallic taste in my mouth, and my cell phone screen cracked straight through the center. At some point, I had texted myself, from unknown. Clock in. You're late. The time was 11:45 p.m. My heart leapt into my throat. Outside, my car was gone. But parked in my driveway was that same Packard from the first night. Its engine wasn't running. There was no sound, no movement, but something told me it had brought me here. I didn't even remember walking out the door. My vision went black for a second, and when it cleared, I was already inside the garage. Same flickering lights. Same dead flies against the buzzing bulbs. Same draft that smelled like burnt rubber and old meat. I was behind the counter again. Except now, the clock read 12:01 a.m. and the rules binder was already open in front of me. A new rule had been added, in red ink that looked disturbingly like blood. 9. Once you've done a shift, you're part of the staff. Your contract is eternal. You don't quit. You get replaced. I didn't clock in. But somehow, I had already been clocked in. 12:45 a.m. The radio, which had never worked before, suddenly crackled to life. Not music, not static, but a live police dispatch feed. All units, report of a rollover on Route 666 near the old garage, possible fatality, unknown entities on scene. Do not approach. Repeat, do not approach. Then the voice changed. It became my voice. Hey, I'm trapped under the car. I'm hurt bad. Please send help. I staggered back, knocking the binder to the floor. That was my voice on the scanner. My exact tone, same phrasing, even the same quiver I had the last time I cried for help during a real accident years ago. Was it a recording? Or was something mimicking me? Then the security monitor lit up. Camera 1, a figure lying in the middle of the garage floor. Mangled, bloody, breathing slowly. Camera 2, me, behind the counter, watching the monitor. Camera 3, Buck, standing motionless in the woods, watching the building. Camera 4, static, but something moving just behind the screen, like fingernails scraping from the inside of the glass. 1:30 a.m. There was a loud knock at the bay door. I had locked them, just like last time, but now the door handle started to turn on its own. Then I heard a child's voice coming from the other side. Mister, I need help. My mommy's hurt. She's bleeding in the car. Please let me in. My fingers hovered over the lock. I remembered rule number 2. Don't Open the doors for anyone after midnight unless they're a customer. But this didn't sound like a customer. It sounded human. I checked the cameras. Camera 2 showed a little girl, maybe 6 years old, with long black hair and no shoes, standing outside the garage. Her eyes were black holes. Her dress was soaked in something dark that I didn't know whether it was blood or oil. Then she looked up, right at the camera, and smiled. That's when the tools started shaking on their racks. The wrenches clinked. The drills buzzed. A tire iron slid off the table and landed at my feet. Then the oil pit began gurgling again, this time louder than ever before. We all work here now. The little girl's voice echoed from every wall. We all serve. The garage. 2:33 a.m., like clockwork. The oil pit groaned. This time, the metal grate lifted an inch, not on its own, from beneath. Fingers. Thin, human fingers wrapped in chain. Then a face, half melted, whispered, "Let me out. I'm your replacement." I grabbed a wrench, ready to smash its hand, when it said something that froze me completely. "I remember you. You pulled in 3 years ago. You ran out of gas. You never left." I hadn't, had I? Suddenly memories surfaced. Memories that weren't mine. Working at this garage, night after night, cleaning the same floors, hearing the same voices. Had I been here before? Was this my hell loop? I dropped the wrench. I couldn't breathe. The grate clanged shut by itself. 3:00 a.m. The lights went out. Every bulb shattered. I stood in complete darkness. Only the monitor remained on it. A new feed. Camera 5. The IT showed a room I had never seen before. Stone walls, blood-stained floor, chains hanging from the ceiling, and in the center of the room, a version of me, screaming silently as shadows peeled the skin from his face. Then the monitor screen bled. Yes, actual blood dripped from it, down the frame, puddling at my feet. "Clock out," a deep voice whispered behind me. I turned. Buck stood there. His eyes were white, skin sagging. He was not human anymore. "You're due for your next break," he croaked. I ran out the woods outside the garage. There was no road anymore, only trees. Endless and hungry as I stumbled through brush and vines, I heard engines, hundreds of them, revving in the distance. Then the Packard appeared again. Headlights off, engine silent. Its door opened. Inside, the rules. Binder sat on the driver's seat. IT now had one sentence written in thick, fresh blood. "You don't sleep, not here. Because sleep doesn't take you to rest. It takes you deeper. And on Route 666, dreams are just a back door to damnation." When I woke up after that second night shift, I wasn't home. I wasn't even in my body. I was watching myself, like a camera suspended in air. I saw me curled up in the back seat of the Packard, mouth slightly open, chest rising shallowly like I was trying not to breathe. But the car, it wasn't parked on a street anymore. It was inside the garage, more specifically, inside the oil pit under bay. #2. I woke to blackness, cold, thick, and wet. I couldn't move. My limbs were restrained, sunk in sludge. It was oil, but alive. It pulsed. It breathed. It whispered, "Time to meet the crew." Then a light appeared, dim and flickering like a hanging lantern. I saw faces floating in the walls of the pit. Mechanics in jumpsuits, their expressions frozen in fear. Some had tools melted into their flesh. Others had no eyes, just deep black sockets dripping grease. We all served. We all broke a rule. And now, we maintained the system. One figure crawled toward me, skin sloughed off with every move, revealing oily muscle underneath. "You saw us. You heard the rules. But you stayed. That makes you one of us now." "No," I gasped. "I never agreed to." "You clocked in," the voice boomed. "And no one clocks out unless the garage is full." Then the pit shifted. The walls began to spin, and I was yanked through a tunnel of pipes, mufflers, screaming gears, and faces crushed into radiators. When I came to, I was back behind the garage counter. Everything looked normal, but my hands were stained black, and the binder was now chained to the desk. There was a new page. Candle updated rules. Page 2 Candle: if you wake up inside the pit, never speak to the others. Their memories are contagious. A mechanic will arrive at 3:33 a.m. wearing your face. Do not engage. They're just checking to see if you're ripe. At 4 a.m., a red pickup may pull in. Do not service it. That vehicle belongs to him. If he steps out, pretend you're dead. The man in the mirror is not you. If he starts mimicking you out of sync, break the mirror immediately or he'll crawl through. Do not question Buck. He doesn't remember what he is, and it's better. That way, if the bell rings, but no one's at the pump, check the back room. Only if you've already written your name in the employee log. I flipped through the binder and found the employee log. Hundreds of names, each scratched out in red, except one. Mine, freshly written in black ink. But my name was moving, like it was twitching on the page, and next to it, position, fuel technician. Status, temporal asset. 13 a.m. I heard the bell ring at the pump, but the monitors were dark. All 4 screens had been ripped from their frames. I grabbed the clipboard, heart hammering in my throat, and stepped outside. No car, just a man standing by the pump. His back was to me. He was tall, too tall. His spine looked like it had been assembled backwards. His head cocked sideways at an unnatural angle. Then he spoke. Out of fuel. The voice was metallic, like a chain dragged across steel. I walked toward him slowly. No sudden moves. Fill it anyway, he croaked. Even if there's no car. I looked at the pump. The nozzle was hissing, but not with fuel. With steam. I did what he said. I held the nozzle in the air like I was filling a phantom car. And, as I did, the man slowly turned around and he had my face, but aged. Scarred. Missing an eye. You're catching up, he smiled, revealing a mouthful of screws and wires. Don't fall asleep. They'll build you from the inside out. He turned and vanished. Just dissolved into the air like smoke. 3:33 a.m. just like Rule 11 warned. Someone walked into the garage, wearing my face. He was even dressed like me. Only, he was cleaner. Smiling. Calmed, he waved. Hey, I just started. You must be the guy I replaced. I didn't say a word. He circled the desk. Tapped on the binder. You ever seen what's under rule number 20? He opened the binder. I lunged and slammed it shut. Too late, something began to grow out of his back, like a wrench forged into a spine, twisting and emerging, clicking as it unfolded. He looked at me with hollow sockets where I should have been. We're all made of metal in the end. They just haven't finished welding you yet. He started screaming, loud enough to shake the glass. Then he fell to the floor, twitched once, and evaporated into oil. 400 amped red pickup pulled in. Every bone in my body screamed, don't move. Inside the cab, I saw a figure. Wide-brimmed hat. Skin like burnt leather. He didn't get out. He didn't speak, but I felt him inside my mind, like a spike boring into the center of my skull. Images flashed, an engine made of screaming mouths, a soul stuck inside a spark plug, and a line of attendants, all stuck in a time loop, each dying violently at the end of their shift, and over. It all, a voice. Keep the garage running, boy. The road must always be fed. Then the pickup disappeared. Just blinked out of existence. Before dawn, Buck returned. He wasn't walking this time. He was dragging himself, arms longer than before, fingers scraping the ground. His face was sloughing off like rubber in the sun. Clock out, he moaned. You're leaking. I looked down. My legs were soaked in oil. It was pouring from my ankles like I had holes in my feet. Buck handed me something. A rusted badge with my name etched into it. Your management now, he hissed. If you're ever driving down Route 666 in Ohio and your engine starts smoking, keep driving. Don't stop at the lone garage by the dead cornfields, especially not after midnight. I made the mistake of taking the night shift there. And last night, the old radio picked up a broadcast from the year 1955. Only problem? The voice on it was mine, screaming for help. I don't remember much after the black oil creature crawled from the pit beneath the garage and swallowed Jeff whole. All I recall is screaming, mine, and then darkness so thick and alive it pressed on my skin like wet wool. I awoke sprawled on the cold concrete floor of the garage office, head pounding, nose bleeding, and the buzzing of the old wall-mounted TV set stuttering static into the room like a broken insect trapped in glass. Outside, the world was different. The sky had this dark violet hue, like twilight held hostage. I checked my phone. Dead. The clocks were frozen at 3:33 a.m. Rule number 8. If the clock stopped at 3:33, do not move until you hear the bell. I didn't need a reminder. My limbs were too heavy anyway. Something was in the air, something wrong. You could feel it crawling along your skin like cobwebs and teeth. The bell came, distant at first, a tinny, rusted chime like an old church bell tolling from underground. Then the clocks jumped to 3:34. My breath returned. I stood up slowly, peeking out the garage windows toward Route 666. Everything looked the same, but off. The cornfields didn't sway, the fog didn't roll. It stared. That's the only way I can describe it. The landscape wasn't scenery anymore. It was an audience. I knew I had to finish this. Whatever the garage was, whatever it housed or served or summoned, it had begun something. And I'd triggered the final phase. The red folder. I remembered the red folder from rule #11. If you find the red folder in the cabinet, do not open unless you are ready to know how you died. I had avoided it until now, but something told me this was it. Endgame. No more second chances. I staggered to the metal file cabinet in the corner of the garage. My fingers trembled as I opened the bottom drawer. There it was, blood red, thick like leather, pulsing slightly. I hesitated, then opened it. Inside were only 3 pages. Page 1 typed neatly. Name, Mason Harrow. Assigned role, Attendant, 3rd cycle. Status, marked, 3rd eye opened. Purpose, witness. Record, sacrifice, optional. Outcome probability, 78% termination by rule breach. What the hell was a 3rd eye? I flipped to the 2nd page. Page 2 scrawled in messy handwriting. Mason, if you're reading this, you've already heard them whisper your name from the oil pit. That's the eye seeing you back. It's hungry. You are the 3rd in a line. The 1st, Caleb, was taken in 1971. The 2nd, Dee, burned herself alive in the garage restroom in 1997. You're next. But there's a way out. My blood ran cold. I'd seen Dee scratched into the stall wall of the women's restroom hundreds of times. Burn the sigil behind the calendar. Break the mirror. Put on the mechanic's overalls from locker 6. Then, talk to the man on channel 13. But whatever you do, don't let him in. My hands were already shaking before I turned to the last page. Page 3 blank, until I stared long enough. Then ink bloomed from the fibers. You die on July 4th at 4:06 a.m. Blood pressure will spike. Tongue will split. Your spine will twist until it sings the song of rusted chains. Welcome home, Mason. I dropped the folder. My mouth went T was July 4th, and it was 3:35 m2. Locker 6. I knew time was short. I sprinted to the employee locker room and yanked open locker 6. Inside were old overalls, stained, soot black, smelling of scorched metal. I pulled them on over my clothes. Inside the pocket was a small, rusted key labeled Channel 13. Up behind me, the wall mirror began to bleed. Crimson rivulets dripped from its corners, and the reflection didn't show me. It showed the garage, but with someone else standing where I should be. A copy of me, but thinner, hungrier, grinning wide with too many teeth. I smashed it with a wrench. Glass shards rained down, and behind them, I saw briefly, like looking through a broken window, something. Watching. A figure draped in smoke. Its face was a mass of radio dials and speaker wire. I ran. 3. Channel 13. The key fit into a rusted breaker box behind the garage's main power switch. When I turned it, the power surged, and every old radio in the garage lit up at once, tuned to the same station. Channel 13. A voice crackled through. Mason Harrow. This is emergency transmission 3. You are not safe. The pit is open. The loop has begun. You have 21 minutes before the Hollow One arrives. You must sever the memory. Spine. Find a receiver. Stop the bleed. If he knocks, do not speak. I tried to respond. What do I do? Who are you? But all I got was static. Then, a knock on the garage door. 3 times. Steady. Hollow. Knock, knock. Knock. 4. The Hollow One. I backed away. Rule number 2 came flooding back. If someone knocks after 3 a.m. and you didn't see them arrive, do not open. The knock came again. Stronger. Something moved on the security feed. A tall, spindly figure standing just outside the garage doors. It had no face. Just a speaker where its head should be. It buzzed as it moved. On the feed, it reached up and drew something on the window in fog. Letters. Let me in. I shut off the camera. Then I remembered the memory spine. What the hell was that? I didn't know. But then I looked at the ceiling. Right above the oil pit, embedded in the ceiling like a fossilized centipede, was a long, snaking spine-like growth. It pulsed with memory. Images flooded my mind. Jeff, the old man who trained Me. The first time I broke a rule. The dream I had at age 10 where I burned alive. My mother, whispering something to me in my crib. All stored. All leaking. The bleed. I had to destroy it. V. Oil and fire. I doused the place in gasoline. Grabbed a full canister from the back. Traced a line all the way from the memory spine. To the garage door, the oil pit, the locker room, the office. The hollow one kept knocking. Knock. 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 I whispered a goodbye. Then lit the match. The fire didn't behave like fire. It howled. Like it was alive. It surged upward, catching the memory spine first. It screamed. Yes, the spine screamed. The sound was like 1,000 radios turning on at once, and all of them broadcasting the moment of their own deaths. I ran into the office, shut the door, and dropped to the floor. The heat blistered the glass. The pit roared. I thought I was dying. But then, silence. Not calm silence. The kind of silence you hear when something enormous finally dies. Vi. For 06 a.m. I checked the clock. It was 4:06 a.m. but I wasn't dead that I should have been. The red folder had promised it. Instead, I opened my eyes and the fire was gone. So was the spine. So was the hollow one. The garage was in ruins, but I was whole. Only one thing was different. I looked in the shattered remains of the mirror. And my eyes, they weren't mine. The pupils were vertical, like a snake. Or something worse. 7. The last rule. The radio crackled one last time. Congratulations, Mason Harrow. You've broken the loop. But you didn't escape. You've taken its place. There must always be a night attendant on Route 666. Welcome to the new shift. And then a fresh list of rules printed out from the receipt machine at the front desk. Typed in blood red. New rules for the night attendant cycle. For I didn't need to read them, because I knew them by heart. They were inside me now, like roots, like oil, like something waiting to awaken again. There's a reason no one drives this stretch of road past midnight. The man behind the wheel muttered to himself, flicking the ash of his cigarette out the half-open window. His name was Walter Briggs. Truck driver. Been in the job for 17 years. Seen some shit, but nothing that had prepared him for Route 666. He hadn't planned to take this detour. But GPS died. Phone glitched. Then the fuel gauge started dropping like a stone. And right as the needle hit E, he saw the glowing red sign. Full service garage. Open all night. Walter pulled in, expecting to see someone. But the lot was empty. The garage itself was in ruins. Roof caved in, metal half melted, windows blackened like they'd been licked by hellfire. And yet, the open sign still flickered. That's when he saw him. A man, leaning against the garage door, smoking, 1 foot up against the wall, wearing a torn pair of oil-stained overalls. The glow of his cigarette briefly revealed eyes like slits, serpentine. Wrong. He smiled. Walter froze. And just before he could reverse out of there, the man spoke. I. The 4th cycle begins. My name is Mason Harrow. Or at least, it was. Time works differently out here now. I'm no longer tethered to things like sunrises or memories or birthdays. I exist to keep the wheel turning, to enforce the rules, to be the watcher of the night. After I burned the spine, the garage didn't die. It evolved, transformed, like a serpent shedding its skin. The hollow one was destroyed, but something deeper woke up in its place. Now I hear them all the time. Voices in the static, names in the wind, stories in the blood-soaked floor. They whisper things only I can understand now. I no longer need the rule sheet. I am the rule sheet. I bleed ink. My sweat smells like gasoline. And I no longer sleep. I see them coming from miles away. The sinners, the cursed, the curious, they all break down. All of them. Tires blow. Fuel leaks. Engines stall. Fate bends to bring them here. The new customers point to. The visitors. I'd seen so many now. The woman fleeing her abusive husband, blood still fresh on her shirt. She tried to use the restroom. The mirror showed her what she did. Then she saw what she'd become. The pastor who got lost on a midnight drive after burying evidence of his affair. The pit showed him the child he denied. It begged for forgiveness in tongues older than fire. The 3 teens trying to film a YouTube urban legend challenge. Only one made it back to their car. But she left her face behind. Literally. It stares at me from the lost and found bin. This place doesn't forget, and neither do I. 3. The loop every night. At 3:33 a.m., the clocks stop. The bell tolls. The fog grows teeth. It's the signal. That's when I feel the old ones shift below the foundation. Not dead, just dreaming. I walk the grounds. I polish the old gas pumps. I answer the calls that ring through the static telephone in the office. No one is on the other end, but I still listen. Sometimes they whisper my name, but it's not in a voice I remember. They whisper in reverse, like a memory being chewed. I keep the oil pit sealed with chains forged from memory fragments. But sometimes it leaks. Black tar that speaks. It slides along the floor, trying to reach the customers. And when it does, they never leave point 4. The man in yellow, there's one presence that unnerves even me. He comes once a month. Always the same time. Wearing a yellow suit. Carrying a briefcase made of stitched leather. His eyes are full of stars. He never speaks. He just watches. And marks something down in his book. One night, I gathered the courage to ask who he was. He turned his head slowly and held up a piece of parchment. It read, "Your replacement is almost ready." Since that night, I've had nightmares of a boy, a teenage gas station clerk working part-time in Idaho. He's scared, confused, but the rules have already begun arriving at his doorstep. I think he's next. The cycle never ends. My final memory. Sometimes, when the fog rolls in just right and the garage lights flicker in a certain rhythm, I remember my mother's voice. Not what she said, just the sound of it. Soft, warm, and entirely human. It only lasts a second, and then it's gone, swallowed by the endless hum of electricity and static. I keep a photo of myself in the office drawer. One from before I took the job, before I became this. I look at it once a year, July 4th. Then I close the drawer, because sentiment doesn't belong here. Only rules. Vi. The final rule tonight, as I write this in the receipt printer, letting the blood of the typewriter keys form words no human will ever read. I feel something changing. The ground is quieter, the wind still. I check the pit. It hasn't whispered in days. And the mirror in the restroom, it shows me again. Not the serpent-eyed warden, but Mason Harrow, tired, broken, free. I don't know what's coming, but I do know what I'll leave behind. One last copy of the rules. One final warning, just in case someone finds this place after me. Scroll. Final rules for the next night. Attendant, do not trust your reflection after 3 a.m. If the oil starts to crawl, lock the pit with the chain of memory. Never, ever open the red folder unless the loop has begun. If someone knocks in there, voice sounds like yours, run. Channel 13 is a two-way door. Don't let what's behind it step through. If the man in yellow offers you the briefcase, don't take it. When the clock strikes 4:06, check the mirror one last time. If you see your own eyes looking back, you're free. If not, welcome to the garage. 7. Transmission ends. Walter Briggs never left Route 666. His truck was found outside the garage 3 days later. Engine melted, tires fossilized. No body, just a pair of overalls folded neatly on the front seat. Inside, the pocket, a single red receipt. It read, "New hire confirmed. Shift, night. Status, observed." And beneath it, scrawled in a hand not his own, "You were warned."